Axiom Verge is a game I've been waiting to play for a few years now. I've been following the creator Tom Happ's website, AxiomVerge.com, ever since I saw mention of the game's development during a late night thread on V. And it's no secret to anyone who knows me, I'm a huge fan of Metroid. Super Metroid is my favorite game of all time. Axiom Verge is an obvious homage to Metroid, and a love letter to Metroid fans. In fact, I believe it was Reggie Fils-Aimé of Nintendo himself who commented on Axiom Verge, telling Tom something along the lines of, "Someone needs to be making a new Metroid game, since we aren't." Please don't kill me if I didn't quote this 100% accurately. I couldn't actually find the source of this quote when I went searching. So with my excitement sky high, I eagerly anticipated the release of Axiom Verge for PC. Then, something happened. In an update post on the game's website, Tom wrote that Sony had been showing interest in Axiom Verge. Sony had been scooping up indie titles for the PS4 and the Vita to try and boost the lineup. It seemed that Sony was taking notice of all these retro indie games that had been coming out to PC and Steam for the last few years, and how a lot of them had been met with praise from older gamers. Sony wanted in on some of that cash. For me, this was met with mixed reaction. At first, I was upset, and I assumed that Axiom Verge wouldn't be getting a PC release, since it had been bought up by Sony, or even worse, that Sony would influence Tom and make changes to the game. Fortunately, these fears were rested when the game was announced to still be coming out for the PC as planned. It was to be released on the PS4 first, but no changes seemed to have been made. This was still Tom's game. Axiom Verge was released on the PlayStation 4 on March 31st, 2015, and for the PC, May 14th, 2015, with a Vita version still in the works according to Sony. Now that my feelings about the game and the background I have with it are out of the way, let's talk about the game. I've already mentioned how this is basically a Metroid clone, but did I happen to mention that it's a fucking Metroid clone? Seriously, from the art, to the graphics, to the gameplay, to the music and the atmosphere, this game feels like classic Metroid. And I mean that to be as praiseworthy as possible. Axiom Verge nails the details, not just the basic idea. In Axiom Verge, you can run, jump, shoot. You're on an alien world. You collect power-ups. They increase health, damage, jumping, and moving abilities. You gain access to a crazy amount of guns that all feel like classic Metroid or inspired by other run-and-gun platform shoot-'em-ups like Contra, Gunstar Heroes. You have long shots, bombs, piercing lasers, a la Metroid. You also have some guns that were obviously inspired by other sources, like a spread shot from Contra, chain lightning gun that's similar to that weird lightning gun from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, or some of those more homing beam weapons like in Gunstar Heroes. Speaking of other influences, it should be noted that Axiom Verge digs much deeper than Metroid into its own sci-fi heritage. The original Alien movie that influenced Metroid seems to give a greater amount of influence to many of the locales and ideas of Axiom Verge's world. From the pixel art during the great-looking cutscenes to the in-game graphics themselves, this game is bursting with detail, and everything is drenched in a heavy coat of sci-fi space horror. From the game's famous website cover ad to the snow-covered surface of the planet, this game feels like you're exploring the derelict husk of an abandoned planet, with just the right amount of horror and wonder that keep you pushing forward, eager to see what mysteries lie ahead. Along with the visuals, the music and the sound design go a long way to set the mood on Sudra. The music cue that starts in that first area when you pick up your main weapon and continues on until you leave the zone is intense. The music pumps with an electro beat, further endows the game with its sense of science fiction. The music does a better job than the visuals of selling this game's theme. The sound effects are just as expertly crafted, oftentimes feeling grainy and heavily synthesized in just the right way. Monsters shriek in pain when struck, and weapons fired from your gun crackle with a satisfying echo that just makes the act of running around and shooting a joy. As with the attacking mechanics, the jumping and speed at which your character moves feels very fine-tuned. The jump arc feels just right, and your main character Trace moves along at a perfect speed. It never feels like he's too fast to accurately move and jump through the game world, but it never feels like he's so slow to inflict frustration as you backtrack through the game's haunting alien world. Oh, and backtracking you will do. As is standard with the Metroidvania formula, you will acquire tools that change how you move about and how you traverse Sudra. From a high jump to a dashing ability, Trace regularly acquires new moves. This goes a long way to keep the excellent pace of the game in check. You never feel like you're getting tools too quickly to get used to using them, but you never go long stretches without getting something new. You get a lot of small rewards quickly, like health and shot power-ups, and you receive your main tools that let you go at the planet in a new way in smaller but very well spread out increments. Few of the guns are actually found along the main path. I prefer it this way just fine. It makes searching every nook and cranny for just more than a health power-up all that more enticing. You never know when exploring off the path is going to find you a new gun that'll quickly be your favorite. The main gameplay power-up that really stands out for me, that sets the gameplay apart from a lot of the other Metroidvanias, is the mobile drone. When you acquire it, you shoot a small pod from your gun that hatches into a drone. The game then switches to piloting this little adorable metal scout. The drone can move, shoot, dig, and even attack. All this is used in order to crawl into spaces that Trace himself cannot reach. The drone even has its own life bar to boot. As with Trace, the drone acquires power-ups regularly. This furthers the drone's usefulness and never makes it feel like a gimmick, but as it's a part of the game world. The story is where I start to have some gripes with the game. It starts off harmless enough, giving us a reason as to why Trace is stuck on this alien world. Without spoiling it, it starts off a bit confusing, as it should for a sci-fi themed exploration game, but it proceeds to make less sense as the story progresses. It throws a lot of sci-fi terms at the player with little time for you to comprehend or even try to explain what's going on or the concepts. But it mainly keeps the player focused on find the next key item and does very little to tell you where to go or who to get it from, which I very much like. I'm not a fan of games with waypoint markers or arrows or anything telling you where to go. I like when it tells you, hey, here's what needs to be done, and that's it. It's up to you to go and find out what it is you need to do. Any sort of markers indicating where to go next would probably have destroyed the pacing and the joy of just searching the world. I prefer my games with as little hand-holding as possible. I was thrilled in Axiom Verge every time I was lost. The story is mostly well explained by the end of the game, but the middle sections just left me too uninterested to care what the conclusion was. As long as I got an exciting boss fight from the finale, I was satisfied. Speaking of boss fights, there's probably only about 5 or 6 in the game, and a few of them kind of feel a little repeaty. Like it really has a lot to do with just a large mechanical-looking bio machine shooting bullet hell patterns at you and you having to deal with it. I mean, you could say that for a lot of bosses, but there's really not mechanics to the bosses. They're really just straightforward shoot-em-ups, which I would love in a lot of games, but here it just feels like a little variety would have gone a long way, and a lot of the bosses feel very samey, with little differences between them. I would have preferred about double the amount of bosses with a lot more variety to them. Rounding out Axiom Verge's experience are secret worlds scattered throughout the maps. Using a weapon that alters the code of enemies in some environments, you can accidentally stumble across these secret worlds. The secret world's locations are random every time you start a new file, and they have semi-randomized layouts. They often yield health and weapon power-ups when you fully explore them. Although, due to the random factor of these secret world layouts, it's possible to discover one and get stuck with no way out other than having to reset the game. I personally got stuck twice in Secret Worlds and had to restart my game. News reports say that the game's currently being patched to alleviate this problem. However, at my time of playthrough, no such fix had been implemented. The final thing about Axiom Verge I really feel like I should mention is the speedrun mode. Selecting this from the menu lets you play through the game on any difficulty, but a timer is added to the corner showing you how fast or how slow you're moving through the game, and it checkpoints every time a boss is fought. It also skips all the cutscenes and all the tutorial dialogues. I can't praise this mode enough. Metroidvanias are often the choice of game for speedrunners. Super Metroid started the speedrunning genre itself, which has become really an art form in and of itself. This mode encourages you to go back and play Axiom Verge again and again. And trust me, friends, Axiom Verge is a game I will be revisiting soon. From the randomness of the secret worlds, the speedrun mode, the way the story hints at more to it than what was revealed on the first playthrough, and the untranslated alien notes scattered throughout the game world, Axiom Verge begs to be played through more than once. I fully plan to comply. Axiom Verge is, to me, an instant classic, a masterpiece of the side-scrolling action genre. Let's hope the industry and Nintendo take a note of Tom Happ's labor of love to video games.